everybody, and welcome to Queued Up. An exciting weekend of esports action just happened. Team Vitality takes down another event at IEM Dallas. Super and Scraps face off at Dreamhack Dallas at the same event. Those guys, Super let them know what happened, gives them a nudge to the face. We're going to talk about it here today. Last but not least, LTA North. We're talking League of Legends. Cloud9 takes down a commanding victory over Team Liquid. We're going to talk about all those things here today on Queued Up, where the mics are open, the lobby's hot, and nobody is dodging. With us today, Michael Tumbleweed Kepley. Pow, 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 pow. Davis Tadlock. We have a clip of young Davis recently in the parking lot.
Oh, no.
On a skateboard adventure. You see him in the top right. Oh, he takes his spill. Davis, we're glad you're okay.
Terrible time.
But we are commending your misery a little bit. And Chris Party Foul. I'm CJ Pathfinder Collins. Great to see you guys here today. Davis, how did that feel?
Terrible. Not good at all. I mean, I'm not a skater by any means. I probably didn't have any business being on that board, and I'm not going to be on it anymore.
Everybody starts with some bumps, you know? So you're getting there. That's us part of the ritual.
That's part of the learning process.
I think I'm past my skating phase.
I've beefed it a couple times on the skateboard. I understand.
I also have. Yeah.
It's no good. Okay, cool. First segment for us today, the big story. We are talking Call of Duty. You saw the clip. Super and Scraps facing off, a little bit of pushing going on there, and that's what we like to see, the passion of it. But there were some exciting matches that happened over this past weekend. The Surge fell off. They got first round bumped twice, DFR'd. And then the Ultra fell to the loser's bracket pretty quickly, and they tried to make a run, but it ultimately fell to the Thieves. But Kepley, I'm going to come to you first. Big takeaways from this event. Obviously, we saw some upsets. We saw a little bit of surprises and maybe some disappointments. What are those things? Pick one of those three things. And who surprised you or disappointed you or was an upset for you?
I'll go with the disappointment. I mean, for me, the biggest disappointment is Seattle Surge. I think that's a big disappointment for a lot of people. Seattle often seen as like a top 4 team in Call of Duty right now. And to get double round bounce, losing to LA Thieves, and they fall down to the losers and lose to Falcons out of all teams, right?
Yeah.
You lose 3-2 there. It's just not a good look for them, especially to build your momentum going into champs. So I hope that they can improve and go from there.
Yeah, Davis, what about you? Disappointments?
Yeah, I'm right there with them. I mean, I actually picked Surge last week as my team to maybe win the event, so to see them get double bounce was tremendous to me. But the team that really impressed me was the winner, Thieves. I mean, I really thought FaZe was going to be really strong and have a chance to, win this event. But Thieves, with losing to Miami like they did and having all that emotion in that matchup, to be able to come back and win the ELEM finals like they did handily, I think it speaks a lot about them and just shows how motivated they are to win.
Yeah, I agree, and I wanted to say, like, another big surprise for me was Minnesota Rocker. I mean, Rocker really played out of their minds. I mean, to go into elimination round 3 and eventually fall out to Optic. I mean, there was, like, I know it was, like, really, really small chance, but, like, for a moment, there was a beacon of hope that, like, is Kenny going to run this to second place and actually make champs? So it was kind of weird that they came in against Optic, right? And you're winning. If you can beat Optic and do that upset, you can maybe make that run meeting LA Thieves later, but just all around, just a good tournament, and it kind of shows the chaos that is COD right now, unless you're LA Thieves or FaZe.
Yeah, I think for me, the Heretics are one that's like, them taking down in the first round Rocker and then playing against the Thieves and beating the Thieves. And that's where you saw that big moment where Super and Scraps kind of were going at it. And it's just one of these things where we've seen Heretics kind of pop off. They have the potential to do it. And we saw them do it a little bit here, but then they kind of ran out of gas when they went to the losers bracket, right? They played against the Thieves once again and then got 3-0'd by them instantly.
Yeah, I think Miami Heretics is the perfect point that you're making there. Like, this is how you build storylines. I think it's how you start to get people more invested in COD, is you have this kind of rivalry that's building here. So to see like your your Rancors and your Supers, right, from Miami Heretics, I mean, I think that is a team you're going to start to build against an org like LA Thieves, right, or a FaZe or even an Optic. Even if your team's not making a whole lot of content, these are teams that are all around content, and it's going to make these big stories, and it's going to inevitably bring you fans in the long run, and that puts more people in the stands.
Yeah, Chris, any surprises for you, man?
Optic?
Yeah.
Being Toronto. So I have a theory, though. I really think that Scump in the Annihilator Cup dropping 70 and then dropping a nuke, it helped the green wall push some luck their way. They had some of that old school luck helping them. They got that 3-1 win over Toronto Ultra, then they won versus Rocker as well. Ultimate they lose to the winner, but that kind of feels good. You get to the top 4 finally, and if you're losing to the winner of the whole event, you still made a pretty good run there.
Yeah, I think for me, the Optic group did get a buff this weekend. It's not the same Optic we have seen. They had some explosive moments. They looked like they were in control at times, which is not something I've seen for the past 2 majors for them. Obviously, we've talked a lot about the roster changes. We are starting to talk a little bit, and this was from the casters. I heard Maven specifically kind of talking about capping Mercules a little bit, where like he's not necessarily performing every match as a superstar. He has superstar games, but not every single time. I think that's interesting for that part of the conversation as well.
Yeah. And I know I'm really happy. We'll have to see how they make their run. They're champs now, but they're definitely showing life, so it could make it a lot more exciting now that we know they can take on the top team. So I think their run, maybe they use this momentum, as you said. Maybe you just push that green wall, hope a little bit more into champs, and see if they can potentially make a run through it.
Yeah.
Chris should be on the show more.
There you
That's
go.
what I'm saying. But what I actually have a question for the group, right? Because last week I was all in my pick'ems. Like I believe that Optic truly had a chance to win this event. And so now, the big narrative there was Optic, they beat Toronto Ultra online 3-0, but everyone said, oh, it's just online. They come here to the LAN and they beat Toronto Ultra 3-1, right? Do we think now, like, are people's opinions on this death starting to change? Like, are you guys starting to kind of see what I'm seeing?
Well, I want to say I was right there with you. I said that I think Optic would make it to top 4 with no problem and eventually get up to 6th place. So I think they arrived just like I saw them. For me, it's just like the quality of players they have. Like I think they should be doing this stuff, and I think it speaks a lot to the organization has been trying to do all this different stuff and brings in so many superstars. Like guys, the names aren't the problem. It's how we play together, and I think they really embodied that this event and found out how to play as a team.
I also think, just in general, from all the teams, I felt like this event, a lot of teams were just playing a lot better in general. Like, it just looked like better Call of Duty than what we have seen traditionally. More team plays, more setups, people taking the time to kind of build the thing that they're trying to do when they're retaking or taking a side or whatever. And I saw a lot more of that. And then specifically from Optic, I did see. So I am down to my core a Green Wall fan, right? Like, I do want to root for the Green Wall as much as I kind of attack them on a weekly basis, because it's like they aren't performing, but I have seen some potential. And you know what potential is you could do something, but you actually have to go do it at this point. And so they have some potential now, but they haven't shown me that they can win champs or something like that.
Yeah, I really like that point that you made. Like every team showed up and really had surprises. I mean, from Lagmates, right, to Falcons. I mean, all these teams you just expected to get swept under the rug. Everyone kind of had a moment here. Obviously, some more grand than others, but you got to see a lot of teams shine here. And I think that this is a good way to set some excitement for champs and not just be like, oh, well, it's just going to be the Thieves and FaZe show.
I think for Optic too, Hook and Shotzi played way better than they had been
Really
together,
good.
right? Because normally they've been playing good individually, but I think they played really well together.
Yeah, 100%.
And then the other one, I think the team that we haven't really hit on here before we transition, really there's 2, Carolina Royal Ravens. We didn't expect much from them, and they didn't deliver anything. And then the Ultra, right? They fell to the losers bracket to Optic, and then that's a gauntlet of, you got to win 7 straight in order to win that event at that point. And so they ended up fighting against the Thieves, who won, and it was just too much for them. But it is interesting to see a little bit of their fall off. I say fall off. They obviously have not been playing as well as they had towards Major 3.
Yeah, I think they have fallen a little bit, but honestly, I think it's just a testament to how Optics improved in that matchup. I think, Ultra is still kind of where I see them. They're beating teams that I think that they should beat, but I mean, matching up against Optic, I really did just see Optic beating them in this matchup. I thought Optic was better, and they beat Gorilla Mates, they beat Royal Ravens. The Ravens matchup was close, but the Gorilla Mates was pretty handily win, and then they faced Thieves and lose 3-1. So, I mean, they're really right where I see them. I think they did kind of slip off to where they were, but I think it's just kind of repositioning and these teams like arriving where they should be.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and I also think they fell to the unfortunate thing that the LA Thieves normally have, where they start a little slow, right? So I think LA Thieves overall is like, a more complete package than Miami Heretics. Miami did edge them out 3-2, but I mean, LA Thieves has had their number like this whole time, this whole season. And so the fact that LA Thieves dropped down there, it's like really unfortunate for Ultra, because now you're against arguably the best team in the CDL, and you have to do this huge losers bracket run.
Well, Paco looks insane on that roster.
Yeah.
He's just always making big plays. It's just nuts.
I mean, they were crowned to be a super team, and they're proving to be a super team. So
Agreed. Okay, well, let's look at the bottom four for champs. We've got the Falcons, who got knocked out, not looking good. I mean, Gorilla Mates, Cloud9, and then the Rockers, the one who ends up being our last and final team that does not make it. Kenny making the transition from Optic, moving to this spot. And then Optic move up a spot. They took the 7 seed instead of the 8 seed, so they're going to have at least a little bit better of a matchup when we look at champs moving forward. But any surprises here?
No, I don't know that it really matters. I mean, it's nice that Optic got 7th. Of course, I'm happy they're just in champs.
Yeah.
Especially from a viewership standpoint for CDL. But like, it was, if you're danged if you do and you're danged if you don't, right? It was either going to be FaZe or LA Thieves, and it's just going to be a hard thing to come against. Obviously, I believe in them, right? I think they did take a hard point off of FaZe. But FaZe, I mean, it's just hard to go against Celium and the Tiny Terrors.
It is. Yeah, FaZe, I mean, for me, FaZe is still honestly my #1 team. Even after watching the Thieves at this point, I think FaZe have a really good shot because you can never really count those guys out.
Yeah.
And they do take the 2nd seed, and they're going to have an easy matchup against the Royal Ravens. Is that right?
Or FaZe?
Do you have the bracket?
FaZe are facing Optic.
Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go. Oh, FaZe and Optic. Yeah.
Yep.
So, I mean, all those, it'll be really tough. The path for Optic is going to be a little bit more challenging. If they can take down FaZe and then beat Ultra.
I'm most excited for game 1, LA Thieves and Breach. We've seen
Yeah.
Thieves start slow and Breach get that upset, and what a huge upset that would be in champs. So Breach could have a time to shine there. But ultimately, I mean, I think this has played out pretty much as expected for everyone. But Royal Ravens, probably the team you would argue the most undeserving.
Yeah, right. Ultra got a really good seed for that.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, Royal Ravens just played so tremendous at the beginning of the year, and they kind of just have rode that excess throughout the end of the year. This last qualifiers, they haven't showed really anything. So very lucky to have secured as many points as they did as early in the season.
Yeah.
Yes, this will be a good one to watch in Toronto as well.
Yep. I was also going to say a quick congrats to LA Thieves. I mean, they finally broke the Atlanta FaZe streak of being the #1 seed at champs. Since the Call of Duty League was founded in 2020, your Atlanta FaZe has been the #1 seed at every single champs. Finally, someone new, Thieves, takes the spot.
Good.
Yeah, I was going to say, though, like, we're talking about Toronto. Like, are they kind of scared, though, a little bit going into this matchup? They 3-2 versus Carolina Royal Ravens. And I'm with you guys on thinking that if I could rearrange, I would put Royal Ravens at 8th at the moment right now.
Yeah.
And then move the other 2 up the 1 spot so that you have Optic in the 6th spot and then the Breach at the 7th. But, when you're going up against a team that you probably should have 3-0'd, that were in the lower bracket, and then now you have to beat them 3-2, and then you have to face them at champs. Granted, you have time in between to, short play, tighten it up a little bit, but so do they. And they can go back and watch. It could be a possible, reverse, where it's 3-2 for Royal Ravens going into that. And then Toronto just on their decline as well, maybe falling off and going to losers early, which was I was looking at. I'm also kind of excited. I'm a little bit on the end. I hope LA Thieves start hot so that they can go versus Miami, because I want to see that all boil over into champs. I want to see more of that between both of them, Super and Scraps, yeah. And I just want to see them both going at it and just making for really good round 2 winners.
Yeah, I think you made a good point. I mean, if you look at results, Ultra 3-2 with Ravens and Ultra losing a game to Lagmates, right? Like, I mean, I know Optic lost to Lagmates, right? And it was the biggest meme ever. But even just to take a game off of Ultra, I mean, you make a good point. Like, where is Ultra at in their headspace? Is this whole noise of the narrative that you should have kept Mercules? Is that affecting Beans' play or Insight? I don't know. I'd love to peek behind the scenes of that curtain, but I don't know where Ultra's at, but they don't look like the team that's been such a high.
For me, the star of that whole roster is CleanX. And so when CleanX does really well, I think that they win the game. And I haven't seen Insight and CleanX kind of play the game that they need to play in order for that team to win. I think Joe Deceives and Beans are going to be, what they are, right? I don't think those guys are going to ever be superstars. I think Joe Deceives, for me specifically, is more like a Skies than anything else. And so he kind of falls underneath good AR category, can do it, but doesn't always do it kind of thing. So CleanX and Insight are the really pinnacles for success on the Ultra side for me. And we just haven't seen much from them in the last couple of weeks. So. Yeah. Okay.
I think they'll handle them, but I definitely see what you're saying, but I do think that the Ultra will respond and be able to handle Royal Ravens at champs.
Yeah. This bracket was a little strange in the fact that we saw a lot of upsets. I think the last brackets, as we've seen them through Major 2, Major 3, have been pretty cookie cutter on like the higher seed wins kind of thing. This one, there was a ton of upsets. But I do want to ask the question, the regular season for this last section, do you think it was good or do you think it was just okay compared to the Major?
I think it was good.
Yeah.
And a lot is what you guys talked about earlier with covering where some teams made the changes to where they were actually trying to, get ahead. And especially with Optic, making those changes. They were on Mercules, they were on Hook as well. They made those changes to go up. And I think you see that style of play and that style of, just organization from the org itself to make them worthy of getting into champs was good. I think the level has gone up. It'll make it for a more interesting champs as well. But it made this last major feel fun. When you're seeing Optic win, as you said, not just that they're Optic, of course, the Green Wall winning will always be good for the scene itself. But when you're seeing them actually take down a team and showing that growth, I think it just makes it for a more fun event overall. We saw them beat Toronto Ultra. Then they got the win over Rocker as well to get into the top 4. It shows that teams that are in the bottom can make it up as well. So I think overall it was fun.
Yeah, and I might be a little old school. For me, the season, it's not that the season itself, like I don't want to say the season was bad because there were some moments and it was cookie cutter. But to me, I just hate that it's all online, right? Especially for your qualifiers, because at the end of the day, it was like, these couple weeks don't matter. These weeks matter. Mm-hmm. These couple weeks don't matter. These weeks matter. So it creates like a lot of lows and, you have your highs and, I'd love to see more upsets throughout the season. But then you have stuff where like, Miami goes 5-0 in the season. What does that really mean? No one really cares about it. Toronto Ultra's forfeiting matches online, and that's just not something that you want to see out of your professional players, in my opinion. So I'd love for them to look at the CDL, and obviously from a finance perspective, it makes sense not to have so many lands, but I'd love for them to look at a way to say, how can we redo this so we can maybe get more lands for qualifying for these majors, however they shift those points up, and just have a lot more meaningful games where we can see these people play at their highest level all the time.
Yeah. So for me personally, I think the season was fair. I don't think it was good or bad, really. The thing that stood out to me was, in my opinion, we only are talking about 2 teams the whole year. We're talking about FaZe and we're talking about Thieves, and it's really a battle between those 2. And that's one thing that kind of saddens me, because when I think back about in prior years of COD, we had those miracle or Cinderella run teams that would win majors and would pop off and win events, and that's really cool, and it brings emotion to the stage. And I just don't think that was really there this year. We've kind of had Optic fall off a little bit. We did have Surge, who's had a good year. We've had Heretics, who's had a good year, who's been exciting to see kind of new teams come into the mix. But for me, I just see 100 Thieves and FaZe are just so far ahead of everybody that it's kind of been a down year in my opinion.
I think for me, when being at Dreamhack, seeing the stage, seeing the live event was very impactful in the fact that I cared a lot more in that moment. I think even as a viewer of Call of Duty, it's like the matches that are happening throughout the weekend, there's normally like one that I want to watch. And the other ones are all like washes in some ways. Like I don't even want to turn it on. It's kind of harder to watch it in that way. And that's not saying that like that it's dead and dying or stuff like that. But I think that your desire as an individual to watch those matches, if it's not there, that's like saying something about the actual format itself, because it's just not that exciting of a formats at times.
Kind of like he was saying, just some of the games just felt like they didn't really matter at times because you have teams that are saying like, oh, well, we don't have the best server we're playing on right now, so we're just going to forfeit. And just stuff like that. You want to try to get away from things like that.
Yeah, I think the format's a good point. For me, it's like it's all content driven. Like the Call of Duty today, to me, is not the same Call of Duty of like 5-6 years ago, right? Where you had, Optic with a lot of content creators on the team. Like your content creators were your pros, so a lot of people are invested in it. Like even though Miami's making this good run, like why do I care about any of them, right? Like why am I going to invest in Super or Rancor? Like I don't really have a good reason to. Like I'm starting to get that storyline, right, with Super versus Scrap. But even the same with LA Thieves. Like these guys don't make content. Like the most hype you get around LA Thieves is if you're an old school Nadeshot fan.
Sure.
And if Nadeshot wasn't there, like why am I attracted to LA Thieves at that point, other than their merch maybe? Sure. And so if a lot of these teams like Rocker, Falcons, Surge, they start to like get some content going in that end. They start to build these storylines, these narratives. It lets people get more invested in your team. And you just don't have that in the league anymore these days, at least from what I see.
Yeah, I think Scraps would maybe be the one example that I like seeing. Scraps. He's kind of like the new school Clayster.
Yeah,
100%. In some ways, right? Like he was like very much fun to watch, and you kind of want to throw him to the wolves, kind of thing. So, but it's just one of those things where I think that the environment of what being a pro Call of Duty player has changed so much compared to back then.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's go to our next segment. We're going to do some pick or ban. If you've seen this one before, what happens is there are 10 topics, and there's an order that we're going in based off of the pick'ems from last week. And first, I'm not going to read out everything, but it's on your screen. There's several different topics. The folks on the stage here are going to be able to ban and pick things, and then we're going to talk about those things based off the ban or the pick. If it's banned, we do not discuss it. If it's picked, we talk about it a little bit, and we bring up why we picked it. So Davis, you get the first ban. What would you like to ban, sir?
I'm going to go ahead and start by banning Combo Breaker. I'm sorry to all the fighter game lovers out there.
Gosh.
You just targeted Chris.
I'm sorry to all the fighter game lovers out there.
He's allowed to ban.
I know he's allowed to ban.
This
is a target
choice.
ban.
Funny thing is, it wasn't even be about really the games. It was about the hype around what the games were bringing. And then, I was watching
Show
it earlier.
some respect
It was
to
funny.
Chris.
Yo, you just upset Chris by banning
Target
Combo
ban.
Breaker. That's a target ban. Well, Chris.
I'll get them more in the fighters. Don't worry. I'll get them
There
more in
you
the
go.
fighter scene as we go on
He's
through the
ban
year.
right now. Okay, Chris, go ahead. Give us your first ban based off of here.
So I want to ban Bestius replacement in the Blast Austin.
Oh,
my
not talking.
goodness.
Wow, that's a good one too.
That's a
Okay.
big ban.
That's a huge ban. Those are two really
Those are great
spicy
topics.
bans of the banning. Okay, cool. We're not talking
Oh,
Combo Breaker. We're not talking about visas. Kepley, first pick. Go ahead, give it to us.
What are
buddy.
we talking about? We're going to talk about the Austin Major sticker packs.
Oh, cool.
Because I'm about to invest in a lot of them.
Yeah.
So the stickers this year are really cool, especially in that kind of Western vibe, right? I think they've done them very well. They gave a reason for you to actually to buy these stickers and then scratch them, right? Because previously, if you scratch them, it kind of ruined them. But they have these like cool Western borders, kind of like belt buckles around them. If you scratch them off, it removes the border, but then also it gives like a glow effect behind them, like a golden glow, which I think is super sick. And for 25 cents a pop, I mean, long-term investment, right? We've seen the guys that are on Skilldiff talk about how this, there's a lot of investment to be made long-term here. Not professional investment advice, just for a disclaimer there. But I just think these stickers are really cool.
I agree. I think the stickers look awesome. I think I like everything about majors, right? And so I think these are going to be something where you grab onto that sticker, and I think that sticker is going to be very memorable for the time and the location.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's cool how they incorporated the belt buckle into the Austin Major. I think, that just, whenever you see that sticker a few years down the road, it's instantly going to come to your mind like, oh, that's the Texas Major. That was in the United States. Even if you're not from here, like you have other people from other countries that are like, oh, that was in Texas. So I think it's really cool to get that culture aspect into the sticker.
And this segment is sponsored by Valve. Go buy a capsule right now. I'm just kidding. No. We hope you get the sticker you want, whether it's a Falcons or Vitality or Mouse
Mongols.
or the Mongols. Okay, cool. Davis, your pick.
So for me, I think I'm going to talk about Scrap and Super because we actually talked about it a little bit ago, but I think this is what the CDL needs. And when you talk about the old CDL and you talk about old Call of Duty, that's what it was. It was emotion, it was beef, it was wanting to beat the other team so bad so you could embarrass them. And I think we got a little bit of a glimpse of that in this game. Super coming over to Scrap, giving him a little joust, whatever it was. Scrap didn't like it, got in his face, ended up getting his revenge in the lower bracket. And I think that set the tone for the playoffs. I think Thieves started out a little bit slow. Miami woke them up, and then once they got woken up, they were unstoppable.
Here's a question for you. Do you think that the CDL has to issue some kind of fine to Super?
Personally, I don't, because I think if the CDL wants to give him a fine, they need to look at everything that they support. I mean, they support the Challengers League. Look at the stuff going on in the Challengers League every single match. So if you're going to find this guy on the main stage, we got to keep it the whole through the entire organization.
My man. Yeah, I mean, just being at Dreamhack for that event, I mean, you had that go down, and like it was kind of like a meme, but I don't know how much they showed you guys on the stream. I obviously didn't watch the stream; I was there. But about 30 seconds into Thieves beating Miami on that losers bracket run, like the crowd was already standing up, and all eyes were on Scrap and Super because something was about to go down. So like it was such a packed crowd, and people were like. Before they were like, oh, Optic's not here, everyone's leaving. But like for that moment, just that one brief moment in time, the CDL, everyone was in there. It doesn't matter what you're a fan of. You just want to see what happened on that stage.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then once the rematch happened, Thieves show up and go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say that, but also it sets up for champs now. They're on the same side of bracket. There is that beef already. They're both going to want to beat the teams that they play in round one so they can face each other again, so they can get that first trash talk in as well. And as you said, that's coming from a MOBA background, I loved watching Nate Shaw, I loved watching Scump because they were like that. They were big pop-off personalities. And then that's, kind of where I found, this is what I want to watch it for. It's really fun to watch because you can do that. You can't do that in many other games besides fighters. We took that away. You can pop off against your opponent because you're right next to them, but you don't really see that. Of course, maybe in Valorant, they'll talk and say something across the way, but that, they don't really bring it to each other when they meet, right? COD, they'll do it when they meet. They'll say, okay, you said something to me, I'll say something to you. Don't want to get demonetized here, so I'll keep the language PG for now. But I liked it when he came back. He got beat. You could see Super just looking down and the scraps just in his face, and it was great.
Don't beat me up, please.
Please, I'm sorry. I know you won this time. I'm sorry. Please don't. Yeah, it was an interesting one. We'll see what the rematch looks like. I'm not sure. Chris, your turn. You get to pick one, buddy. What you gonna do?
Well, it's definitely Koi upsetting KC. I'm sorry, I have to go to it because that was probably my favorite game so far of Split 2. I've watched LPL, I've watched LCK. There's some great games across both, but when you get into a playoff or a best of 5 and it goes all 5 and one team that is ranked 3rd, who is up and coming, finally beats the number 2 team from the first international tournament, it was best. Movistar Koi, they came out. They did great. Unfortunately, they didn't do too well today, but they obviously had a plan versus KC. They executed it well, and it was a 5-game banger that everyone should watch. If you haven't watched it yet, you should go back and watch it because it was great. You got to see great sides from both teams, and it was probably some of the best League of Legends we've seen this year.
Don't spoil it because I know you talked about this probably on Ty. But on Ty, a little teaser for the folks at home, like what made Koi have the difference there over KC?
I honestly think it was a JoJo difference in both ways of the sense. When he was doing well, the team was doing well, Super was able to get fed because you had JoJo's presence there allowing to help him, and then Super would be able to come in the backline and help. But in the games they lost, it was also JoJo doing a lot of misplays. He'd be a lot of the time in the wrong place at the wrong time, getting caught out. Kana definitely had JoJo's number in the game that he was playing in Vesa versus the Akali as well. And I think JoJo right now is a really big deterrent or force for them, depending on the game. We saw a little bit today as well. The game that they beat G2 in, he actually did amazing. In the games that they lost, he wasn't as much of a factor. So I think he's bringing a lot to the team. And then when they're able to play around him when he's doing well, they can win because they have some really good carries. Supa is amazing, but he needs the help.
Well said.
Well said. That's right. Okay, Kepley, give us our ban.
I get to ban. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Chris was really strong there, so I need something big here. So I want to ban.
Oh my god.
I want to ban the Battlefield 6 Battle Royale.
Yeah, Battle Royale ban.
Who cares about Battle Royale?
Yeah, we're not talking about that. We don't want to talk about it at all. Okay, cool. Chris, you get to pick again, brother. What you gonna talk about? What we doing?
Dreamhack is back.
Dreamhack is back. I think it is.
I agree. I think it is back. I think this was probably one of my most favorite events to watch this year from Dreamhack. I've gone to a lot of Dreamhacks, mostly in the Atlanta area. But growing up, especially getting into a lot, we used to have MLG Raleigh here. That's what kind of got me into it. Then it was going to the Dreamhack Atlanta because it was so close, of course. Jump on I-85, we're already there, right? And through the past couple of years, the Dreamhack Atlanta was just really bland. It was more of felt like Artist Alley and a couple of, pop-up events. You had a little bit of CS here or there, but not really a major, right? You just kind of had some teams coming. You didn't have big events. I like fighters, so it was kind of nice for me because they brought a lot of fighters there, but if you don't like that, you didn't have much to watch. I remember when I used to be able to watch Dota, used to be able to watch League at these events. They're not there anymore. Now we finally have the big CS major. We have the Call of Duty major, which is amazing to watch, and I think bringing back these events are just good for everyone because the LAN experience, as you guys saw, you guys were there, as you said, it makes you care about some of the games that maybe you wouldn't previously care about if you're sitting at home, and I think having that is just good for, the community altogether.
Why don't you have a word if you want
it? Man, I agree. I mean, Dreamhack was amazing, just having an event like that. I mean, I'm really biased and I'm living in the hype right now, but it's yeah, you should have these all the time. But eventually it might lose its allure. I don't know how financially possible it is to do these all the time. But yeah, I mean, it was great. It let me grow my this new love that I'm finding for Counter-Strike and all the storylines there. And it also made me realize that the winds are changing for Call of Duty. Maybe Call of Duty's not as hyped anymore as it used to be, and it's kind of dying off a little bit. Halo, there was a lot of cool stuff. Super biased there, cheering on Eli and Nick in that show. And then even just other stuff that I didn't care about. I found myself looking at Brawl Stars as an example, right? So now in the office, we got a little Brawl Stars team, right? And it all just started from watching the finals, right? And we're just like, yeah, let's just download this game and try it out. And it's like, wow, this game is actually really fun. And then like chess got a little bit of action. They asked me and Seth, one of our marketing guys, to compete in the chess tournament. And I was like, guys, if I can use the Dr. Lupo strats, I'm happy to compete. But I mean, just the whole event itself, the vibes were great. There were so many good cosplayers. I mean, just all around a banger event. So.
Yeah, go ahead, Davis, if you want anything, add to it.
I thought it was tremendous. I wasn't there, sadly, so I wasn't able to experience. But kind of like what you said, I think it's a great thing for the community to come together and all be at one. I don't know if it's something that we can do super often because then it kind of loses its special touch. But I think it's something great that we should definitely try to prioritize doing at least once a year to get everybody together and have a big global event.
Yeah, I know this has been a longer segment, but I think the impactful thing walking around for me was like when one match would end in a location, people would flock to what they thought the next match was going to be. And sometimes it was Halo and sometimes it was COD. When the Mouse Mongols match, it was crazy over there. That was such a good one. And then the rematch for Vitality and Falcons was huge too. And so there's just a lot of moments on that side. The Envy things that happened at TSM, Envy, and whatnot. It was just, there's a lot of cool matches throughout the weekend. And it was cool to bounce from place to place. And you could kind of follow the crowd in some ways to the next thing. So, cross-pollination of esports. It's here, it's alive, it's a good thing. Okay, that was Chris's pick, yes?
Yep.
Davis, your pick, buddy.
I'm doing the HCS Lives On.
Oh, here we go.
Tremendous event from Halo this weekend. I got to say, this was one of the first events that I've actually paid attention to pretty much start to finish, and it was great. I actually had some, obviously, emotion tied into it watching Team Envy. They performed tremendous, so shout out to them. I really enjoyed watching you guys play all week. Thought you were tremendous. Another team that I want to talk about is FaZe. I mean, I thought the finals was pretty much set up to be Optic and Shopify, kind of like it always has been through every event. And FaZe really showed up this week and showed that Shopify's spot is not solidified. Really cool event. Had a really cool crowd turnout as well. And I think Halo's doing well.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, thank God for Eli being there because otherwise I would have had no idea what was going on. But Eli was like, when he was not casting, he was taking time to like sit with us and to sit with all, he's got like a ton of fans. I didn't even realize how big of a deal Eli was, right? Like, but Eli's like talking to all these people. He's helping understand the storylines, right? Educate people. And like, it was just huge crowds for stuff for like what is, a dying game, right? So it's cool to see Halo get that resurgence, get that storyline hype. And it was, from what Eli told me, I didn't get to talk as Nick as much because Nick was slaying out on stage, right, with Envy, getting a top 6. But from what I understand from the people I talked to, various casters, this was like the best event ever because of what you're talking about. Shopify gets upset, Optic loses Game 5, Slayer 50-49 to TSM. No one saw that coming, and then TSM later beats our boy Nick, right? Same thing, Game 5, 50-49, but in TSM's favor, right, or 49-48, whatever it was. There was one kill difference through my pin, whatever. I don't know anymore.
I mean, Optic showed up on this one too. It was definitely a comeback story for them as they made that losers bracket run after losing to TSM.
Second losers bracket run in a row, if I understand correctly.
Yeah, look good. Okay, cool. Kepley, you get the last pick, brother. What you taking?
Oh, you guys left me with some banging topics.
Dude, those are pretty good. Yeah, I like both of those.
I'm going to go with the Counter-Strike signs because I got to take part of that, I didn't get to read as much on the GeoGuessr withdrawal. But the CS signs, I mean, those things are absolutely out of control. And shout out to the artists there, right? Because we've got like Nico and Monacy making out on posters. We've got like Rip Falcons and Mongols, right? And then you've got us, like we were having fun. Seth had his Steam Deck and we've got one mouse round equals one case. We didn't even get to open that many cases. So like it's just like everyone's just like super invested in these signs, and then most importantly, it was like FU Apex, FU Twitch chat. I mean, all around the stadium. Those were everywhere. But it's just like shout out to the creativity from those guys.
Yeah, the signs were wild.
Yeah,
I thought they were dope. I just think it's funny. I think the signs are just like Twitch chat. It's just in person. It's just like an in-person Twitch chat.
Yeah.
It's crazy when people start taking 2 or 3 of them and then they start gluing them together with
like
taping them and whatnot. It's just wild. Wild. Sorry, let me look at this pick ban for a second. I got to think about this.
Oh, yeah, I forgot you have to pick a winner.
I have to pick a winner out of all this.
Where'd my pin go? What you decide? I lost points for losing my pin.
I'm going to give Davis the win, honestly, for the first ban. He just attacked Chris and stabbed him in the heart so fast. and then pick some good ones to follow it up. So that's a good one, Davis. I
My
like
first
that.
win.
Yeah, you
Nice
rocked it out,
dub,
dude.
bud. That was nice. That was
Let's
a good
go.
one. That was really
Yeah,
nice.
and
Only right after the spill I took.
Also, shout out to Chris because Chris was slaying out on the Koi upset for his
Yeah,
points.
he
I mean, there
was.
was some good stuff there.
Yeah. Okay. Next is around the league. We're gonna talk through some. Is it around the league or is it Click the Kick?
Around the league.
It's around the league. Yeah.
You're the host.
I'm the host. I say it's around the league. I'm going to come to you first, Chris. We're going to talk LTA North, specifically Cloud9 versus Team Liquid. You saw a little bit of the clips. I personally didn't have a lick of faith in Team Liquid at all, so Cloud9 shows up, smokes them, gets the 3-0.
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing against Team Liquid. They made a good change. In all honesty, I think UG is a really good pickup, but you're putting him against the second best team. Actually, I'm going to put 1 and 2 right now. I think both teams, C9 and FlyQuest, have their ups and downs. Right now, I do think all over cohesively, FlyQuest is a little bit better. But when you put UG against 2 of the best solo laners in North America right now, it is hard for him to really make those plays. And then you're up against, a really good bot lane as well. Vin has been doing really good, so Core can't really do that invade style against Blabber that he did, against Shopify because they're just not the same team. So not on the same level. And it really goes to show how much right now Team Liquid is, and Kepley might agree, that they don't have an impact in the top lane with impact. He is a good, solid player. But when Thanatos is consistently making teams flock to him to try to control him, if you can't win the rest of the map as well, then you're going to start losing out, and that's exactly what they're able to do. There's one play in the second game where Thanatos, is playing Rumble. He's like 2 HP bars, ends up allowing C9 to get 2 kills because 2 people are flocking to kill him. He outplays them just because he's Thanatos, and then the rest of his team, Blabber, and then Quad show up. They get the Quid show up, and they get the kills, assisting him. And it just goes to show, well, if you can't take him down, what are you going to do? And right now, the only person who seems to be able to do that is Whippo because he's also an insane, solo player as well. But I think there's just a lack of also mid lane presence from Team Liquid at the moment. APA is great, but he's just like Impact. He's a solid player. He's just not that really difference maker at the moment. And Liquid's missing that. They tried to bring that in with UG, but he's too new. He's too green, playing against Blabber, who's a veteran in the league.
Yeah, and I saw this kind of playing out this way in a lot of ways, especially with FlyQuest taking down Shopify as well. I think that FlyQuest, it was interesting to watch FlyQuest and Team Liquid face off against each other in that best of 3 because you saw that FlyQuest is just so good at turning those fights to their favor, where C9 was a little bit more structured, I think, at times. So it's interesting to see both of these teams kind of take out the other, 3 and 4 and just absolutely smoke both of them.
Yeah, and especially in Game 3, Liquid is doing well, but when you have Loki, who ends up going 8-2-8 on the Tristana, I don't know what you're supposed to do at that point. Impact was finally kind of winning on the Yorick, and he had a nice little solo kill, but he just wasn't able to do much. And I kind of really feel bad for Jan and Core because I feel like they, in my opinion, right now are the best bot lane duo in the league. They just have the rest of their team. If they can't really carry from the get-go, and that's when they're playing these 2 teams, C9 and FlyQuest right now, they just really feel like they get pushed down. I mean, Jan had a great Zero game. You don't see Zero as much. 5-2-5, really impactful until about the end, where you can't really do much when we saw Cloud9 coming back.
Yeah, for me, I just wanted to say I was actually pretty impressed with Shopify in their second game. I think they actually should have won that game. They were up a ton of gold, a ton of kills, and then they just happened to throw the game. And I think once they threw that map too, it was really cooked for them. I think FlyQuest would have won the series anyway, but I think Shopify legitimately could have easily taken map 2.
I think it's good that we got to see Shopify shine a little bit. Like you said, that's kind of an expected result. So it's you had a really high. Last week, I bought into the UG hype on Team Liquid. Obviously, I bought a little too soon, right? I think Chris makes an excellent point. He is very green, and when you're up against Blabber and especially Thanatos, I'm super critical on Impact, and I thought that the way that UG played last week, maybe he just played out of his mind for his debut, but his aggressive style could make up for some of the lapses that Impact has had lately, at least from me, just because Impact, he can't play these carry champions that well. He's always been a safe, standard tanky laner, maybe like a Jax out of him, right? You can split push your way to victory. But Thanatos, shout out to Cloud9. I mean, they just played phenomenal and a completely different team than we saw against FlyQuest. So it's like making it kind of hard to read these top of the standings. And well, I guess we'll see. This is going to be a banger of a rematch. That's all I know between FlyQuest and Cloud9.
Yeah.
Cloud9 is coming into this Loki 23-20 over the course of the series versus TL. And I think that's going to make a difference going into the FlyQuest game. I think if you can get him on point, because Thanatos is always going to be kind of that draw. Loki has been a really good supporting cast along with Finn. So then kind of playing a little bit more of that, Ezreal. So maybe not exactly the high kill champs, but kind of a little more safer. He played the Senna as well, which we've seen a lot, which of course doesn't really pick up till the end. Supa did get a quad kill on her yesterday, but of course that's after he's like 200 stacks or so. So you have to get that game going a little bit. But when you have Loki kind of playing these high kill champs as well, though, he has the Corki, Tristana, Azir. I think he can maybe make a change. FlyQuest is going to have maybe a little bit of trouble for him. I think this might be finally the time where we can see a best of 5, either go the distance or at least a game 4, because we haven't had any of those. Every other region has had at least one game go past that best of the best of 3, go the distance.
Yeah, like
best
Koi
of 4
KC.
game. Yeah, Koi KC, and we're going into MSI, and there's no practice for any NA teams having that best of 5 right now. So we have to have our 2 top teams, or what they are considered right now, to clutch up and then actually get there and get some practice. If not, we're just going to get run over in it.
I think that's really impactful, though, because we haven't seen any best of 5s. They're not getting any looks. And when we say NA is normally falling way behind some of these other regions, it's another reason why.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I honestly, the way that my gut goes there is I'm a little more worried for Cloud9 in that regard than FlyQuest, because I think that we've seen a very deep pull out of FlyQuest. And when you go to MSI, I feel like the natural thing that people are going to do against FlyQuest is try to target Blippo. And he's got so many niche picks that it's going to be hard to lock that down. But on C9, right, APA, right? EPA's Liquid, messing up my players there. But Thanatos has got a really deep pool. Blabber, he's got a really deep jungle pool, but he's kind of more traditional. So I haven't seen Blabber really get pushed down to the depths. Will we see the Kazakhs, right, that we saw out of the Korean regions, right? I don't know. It's going to be an exciting time, though. But that's a fantastic point, Chris. So I hadn't really thought about how we hadn't been that deep in the pools yet.
Yeah. The other thing, just switching gears, we're going to go back to a little bit of Counter-Strike. We did talk a little bit about it via our Dreamhack segment, but we really didn't talk about the finals and kind of what happened. Ultimately, Mouse was able to take down Mongols, which we would not have thought that America became Mongols fans, but that arena, I tell you what, was a bunch of Mongols fans.
Oh, I knew the whole time.
I mean,
Kepley was in his safe haven. So.
Plugging Ty once again, though, we did have a really nice clip of the boo versus Mouse and then the cheers for Mongols. And that went on. That was pretty nice to see. I mean, again, that's another of the fun, what you can get at LANs when you finally, get to them. And I think it shows a lot of kind of that narrative, though, of wanting that team that maybe isn't the top to win. Mongols has a lot of hype around them. You want them to do well. Of course, they really haven't been able to get there just yet. They're kind of creeping, but it's slowly. But, I hope they can get that win finally, right?
I mean, they pushed Mouse. Vitality to their limits, right? And so, when Mongols plays really high, now, admittedly, right, Vitality didn't play that well in that series, right? But I'm going to ride the hype wave for Mongols, right? They were able to take them. I think the map 3 ended up being 13-11, something like that. And you could tell that America just kind of got behind that. But even being there live, the whole time they're cheering during the walkout, the Mongols are on stage, why are they cheering so much for us? I don't understand it. But it was all around good fun. And I think you summed it up perfectly. We're just tired of seeing Vitality or Mouse in the finals because for whatever reason, America gravitated straight to Falcons. I'm assuming because of Nico and Monacy. And then also for Mongols. And Mongols are just, I don't understand why, but hey.
So do you think that that because Apex decided to take a stance, which is saying F you America. And then you hear the stands. Now, Vitality is the bad guy of the Americas events. Do you think that impacted the team at all, or do you think it was just status quo?
From being there, if you were at DreamHack audience and you wanted Vitality to lose, you needed to not say "F you Apex" because he was just firing him up. Like I felt like every time that we started that chant in the arena, he would acknowledge it and he would go out the next round and just absolutely slay.
Yeah.
And I just think he like had a lot of fun with it. Like his teammates spoke on in the interview, post-game interview, it didn't really bother him. And once they won the event, he was like, "Hey, we're gonna go to the major. Like maybe we can get a few less FU Apexes, right?
Just chill out, guys, a little bit.
Chill out a little bit." But overall, I think that this, the vibe that I got from the stadium is the team absolutely loves Vitality, but they're really just like the fans are also playing into the fact that like, yeah, you said FU America, we're gonna fight back. I would argue, right, that if the roles were reversed and we had a superstar North American player and they said FU France, like if we go to that arena, France is gonna let that guy know, right? So just all around, just good stuff though. Really excited for the major now.
Agreed. Cool. Let's go to our next segment. We're gonna do some clutch or kick. I'll go first. Unless everybody really wants to go first.
No.
I'm going first. It's gonna be me. Okay.
We have music now.
I'm gonna set this up for the audience. So my clutch or kick is on specifically one player on the Vitality squad for Counter-Strike, and his name is Robs. Now, I believe that based off of what I have seen, that Rops is more clutch than Zywoo. We saw Rops in many different occasions. I have a clip that I would love for you guys to see as well. Rops shows up and is able to, I'll just let the clip speak for itself. This is a round where it's a 2v5. Rops is up in apps. He gets one. He gets a second, and the only reason that Vitality is in this round is because Rops has been able to stay alive up here. Falcons are looking for something else to come through. They do eventually get the bomb out. It takes him a second because Rops is just holding. And I think Mezzi's actually the guy that loses them the round this time. Him dying there is just so critical. Rops had so much pressure on this bomb, and if Mezzi just can kind of maintain that pressure on that side, I think it changes that a lot for them.
Step up alone. They move in together. The pack of three. They slip away. One left to stop Robs from peeking his corner.
But a huge round from them. A big momentum swing for Vitality, just in the right direction for them to be able to win that map in the end, even though it was very close. So that's my clutch. Rops more clutch than Zywoo. Anybody?
I'll go first.
Okay.
Because I've had a lot of talks on this, and hopefully Dylan over in Skilled have talked about this, right? Because he's a big Robs fan. I go super back and forth on this point. Now, when we look at the finals, right, I do think Robs gets overshadowed a lot by Zywoo. And if that was your point, that Robs doesn't get the recognition that he needs, I want to clutch you. But Zywoo, when he pops, man. And I think Zywoo is just like one of the best players in the game right now. It's hard to like really overshadow him. The closest I could maybe say, even though his career is a lot younger, is Monacy, right? Where Monacy has a lot of clutch moments, but Zywoo, he's just got such a star-studded like backlog of achievements. He just really knows when to shine. But Robs does get overlooked a little bit.
I got to go with the kick here, too.
Ah, no!
Sorry.
No!
It's
happening!
Because just like he said, Zywoo is Zywoo, and he is so comfortable, and the things that he does is absolutely insane. The things that he does in the pressure moments that he's able to do just shows how clutch he is. I think Rops is absolutely tremendous, was huge for them this tournament especially, and it has really been huge for them throughout this entire run. I do think he's a little overshadowed from Zywoo, but I do believe Zywoo is more clutch.
No!
You're done, CJ. Welcome to the club of the super kick.
I'm melting.
Yeah.
Stop it.
I mean, I'm agreeing with them. I'll watch as much. Of course, I'm watching always the Vitality games because they're in the finals, so I'm usually watching it. And of course, I watch a lot of it due to Ty as well because we're always talking about them because they're always in the finals. But it's just I guess the impact of the clutchness as well is also coming into effect. Zywoo's is always there. He's always popping off. He's always playing with the numbers. And Rops, it's okay. That was a nice clip. Obviously it's the one round, but it's how many more can we find if we're putting it in comparison for it against both of them? Yeah, I understand. And his gesture said how many there are comparative to it. Obviously more recognition, yes, probably. Of course, it's just, but
That's cool. I'm not hurt. My feelings are hurt. It's fine.
You know what your statement changes to, and I immediately clutch you, is that Zywoo should not have got MVP of this tournament.
I would clutch you as well.
Yeah, because I think that I would argue Rops or Apex were the MVP of this tournament for Vitality. They had a lot more clutch moments than Zywoo. Zywoo really waited until the finals to show up. Yeah. But when they needed him most, that's when he showed up, right? And but Rops and Apex got them to the dance.
Yeah, agreed. 100%.
Okay, cool. Who wants to go next?
I'll go ahead with mine. So mine's actually staying in CS, and mine here is jumping over to FaZe. And it's that Simple and them missing out on the playoffs of this event was actually a really good thing. And the reason it's like that for me is because look who they're playing with. They're playing with Skulls. They don't have Rain yet. Simple's in his first event back, and obviously Simple says he wants to make the playoffs because he's a competitor. But genuinely, it's not the right thing to do. The next event is the Major. They have to be prepared to that. Losing early in this event gave them more time to prepare for the Major. I think it's the best situation for them.
Go ahead.
It's never good when your best viewership drops out early. It's the optic effect with Simple, right? So like if you want CS to shine, you want it Simple to be there as long as you can. Is he overhyped? Maybe. That's a different topic. But Simple and FaZe being there in Counter-Strike, it was more viewed than anything that happened in the semifinals or finals. So Simple being there was a good thing. To your point, I hope they make a super deep run in the Major because it's more eyes on Counter-Strike's a good thing.
Just let me comment one thing, but that's to my point. I think the fact that he was able to leave, they get more preparation, and he's going to be around to stay versus you make a playoffs this time, maybe off of luck. You don't really get much momentum because you don't have much practice.
Well, you're saying it's good for practice. I'm saying it's bad for viewership, so I'm kicking it either way.
I like this. This is a good clutch.
He just abandoned you.
It's okay. He's allowed to
abandon. You can't clutch him. We're not allowed to do that.
I actually like this in the fact that, like, I do think it's good because it is going to put a little bit of fire under those guys to win. And I think Simple will bring some of that fire with him because it wasn't easy for him to show up. I think he did play well for the team. I think that team is bad. I'm not saying that this is going to make them win, but I do think it's good they lost in the fact that it might make them play a little bit better at the Austin Major. But also, they still suck. So, good.
You put that sign down.
I am going to clutch just purely based off of what he said, though. I think it's fine if you're coming into this first event. You end up losing, obviously, with a second sub as well. And if it was based off of anything else, like viewership number, et cetera, then obviously it would have been a kick. But I'm going off of what he said. I'm not twisting his words like some other people were doing. I'm saying based off of purely their practice, wanting to get practice in, maybe losing this, in the playoffs is fine. It let Simple, finally get warmed up at a first event because obviously you can practice as much as you want, in scrims. It's never going to translate into LAN. LAN's always going to be different. There's always going to be different, variables that affect you, and getting that first, play in, whether or not you win or lose, is just good enough. And I think it's fine that they lost. Let him go to the Major. Let him show up there.
Good job, Davis.
I got a few clutches.
That's right.
Normally I don't get many. Straight up.
Kepley?
On the train of FaZe, I'll kick it straight off.
Oh, we're going FaZe again. All right.
We're going for FaZe. So my topic is that there's a lot of controversy over in the Call of Duty world where FaZe showed up and some of their owners, right? You're talking your Tempers, your Apexes, they put chairs in the front row in front of the VIP ticket holders. The VIP of the VIP ticket holders, I might add, right? Because just the VIP ticket alone wasn't enough. You had to buy a separate ticket to be able to sit up front in the stands. Did they deserve to be there? I argue that you don't even get a VIP seat if these guys didn't create this scene, your FaZe Tempers, your Optic Scums, right? If these teams that are in these finals, if these owners and these orgs, these OGs want to come here and they want to show their support for this league, yeah, absolutely. Roll out the red carpet for these guys because they built the foundation that you're getting to watch on that stage. So obviously, clutch for me. I hope these guys show up more. Just because you're a VIP, a very important person, doesn't mean you deserve to be on the front row.
I'm going to give it to you, Davis. I'll go first if you'd like.
You go first.
You want me to go first?
I'm still formulating.
Go ahead. Go ahead,
I can go first.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
I actually agree with this. I think this is smart. These people, as he said, are the people who helped bring it up. And I think they deserve to be up there. Plus, they actually knew what's going on. How many of some of these VIPs actually go there, sitting in front of the fans, actually know how much of what is going on? If you have people who have been in this scene before, have been in it for years, and are watching, Plus, it's going to hype up some of their teams. If you know your owner is sitting there watching you right in front of it, that's going to make you play better sometimes, because not, you're getting kicked out. You know, they're watching you. They're probably sitting up there, probably making as many gestures as some of the players are. So I think it's clutch. Put them up there, you know, get them involved, because it actually shows that the ownership is actually involved in the scene as well. I think it's a really good thing. If that's them sitting in front, you know, so be it, because those are the people who are paying those enormous franchising fees to actually get the scene going. So,
who's next?
I'll jump in. I'm gonna go clutch too. I think it's really, really cool, actually. To your point of they're the people that laid the foundation, but I want to go circle back to what you were saying about like FaZe and the people that were there for them. These guys have huge followings. Like even though they're the people that laid down the foundation, and that's the whole reason we're here. Like these guys can still bring eyes. People know who they are. Put them on the front. Get them on camera. Show people that they're here. So I think it's a really good thing. Keep them on camera. They are the VIPs of the VIPs.
I don't like it.
You have one job. Don't do it.
I don't like it. I don't like it for a couple reasons. I think the first reason I don't like it is because they're not going to show. Like most times, like the owners aren't actually at the event watching there. Like, do you see Nade Shot in the front row this weekend? No, wasn't there. You think he could have sat there? Absolutely could have. Nobody would have stopped him. I just don't think that they are doing what you actually want them to do in this space. Now, do they deserve it? Maybe, but they're not going to sit there. They don't want to sit there. They would sit there if they could, if they wanted to sit there. They would ask to sit there. They don't want to sit there.
I think that's very valid too.
I just hate
that's almost enough to make me change my answer right there.
No, don't you dare.
You can change. You can change. No, it's a rule. You can definitely change.
No, you
wanna
cannot change.
You can
It's
change.
all right. It's all right. We'll go on.
Producer, give him time, okay?
No, producer, we're rolling to the next one. I think Chris is up now.
Good.
we are up, and I do have a clip for y'all as well on this one, and it was from Game 3 of Team Liquid versus C9. And I've seen a lot going around. I think people are saying, you know, there was a Blabber Smite steal that you can see here. It comes in, as you see, C9 still a little bit ahead, but still a little bit down, you know, in gold. We see the flip there, but I think this is the most important play of this game that won them the game, and it is going to be from Loki. Look, he gets jumped in there. The Zeri ult goes off. He knocks him back, instantly dies, but without that ult from Loki, Eon is able to just smash and shred the whole entire C9 team. They get Soul from here, and they probably just push down mid and win. So without that ult from Loki right there on that Tristana, C9 lose. They go to a Game 4, most likely win Game 4 anyways, but they show right there just the knowledge of the player. Instantly, AD carry comes in, mid laner, Buster shots out. If you don't know what that is, Tristana's ultimate can knock whoever it hits away. And at that time, it is so clutch because at that point, she pops ult. She's going to start shredding everyone. 3-item Zeri, big major spike. And then they clean up at the end because York's there in the back line as well. They all die, and then TL win.
Yeah, I'll start. That's clutch. He sold me. I mean, I think that was a very impactful play, right? And a lot of times it is those very minor details that separate the goods from the greats. And so while that was an interesting fight there, yeah, Loki popped off there, not Blabber. Give it to Loki. Pick it up. Let the hate fuel you.
It's not hate. I'm gonna kick it though. The only reason that I'm going to kick it is because I think Loki made a difference, but I think Blabber made a difference as well. And I think there's a bunch of plays that can be drawn to say like this is the turning point and this is the moment it happened. So that's the only reason that I'm gonna kick it. I think it was a great play. Completely saved his team, peeled them for a while, bought them time.
I'm actually reading on your
I have
notes
a
that you kicked
follow-up
because it's Chris.
We just
That's my only note.
Okay, Chris, I have a follow-up question for you.
Yes.
Do you think that the world thinks that they won that fight because of Blabber?
No.
So why do you?
Because if they get Baron, say C9 or say TL get that Baron there, they follow up. They most likely don't get as many kills as they do from the commitment that C9 did in that Baron play, right? Maybe they lose Blabber at most, maybe one other, right? You have a Tristana at that point that is 2.5 items. They are going to be able to clear out all the minions. At that point, the Dragon did not come up while the Baron buff was still active on C9 after they got that. They had 2 members get away. There were no Baron buffs up. So that means the Dragon's already the couple after Baron buff has expired anyways. So maybe they get one inhibitor, right? But you're not going to be able to get all because most likely 3 members of C9 get away. They're able to defend. You lose one inhib, game's not over. But in that fight there on that dragon, after they got the dragon from there, they go pick off APA, and then the winning fight ensues right after that. Why? Because they've already pushed a map advantage on the TL at that point. And that's all because multiple members of C9 live after that. They get the dragon steal as well, and then move on to the map and take control right after.
Okay, I'm gonna clutch it because I give the love to Tristana. And I think that I do think that play is actually, the more and more I understand the play, it's like that bounce out is a really, really impactful thing that allowed Blabber to do what he did. So
Bang, bang.
excuse me, I'm sorry.
Well, see, we'll teach him a little bit more about those AD carries and how they impact, so we can help him rise to the ranks of League of Legends.
That's right. I just need to know the little moments. Speaking of little moments, this has been a great one. It's been a fun show with you. Thanks for joining us here today on Queued Up. We've enjoyed you and your presence, but we'd also love it if you like, comment, and subscribe down below. Thanks for watching, and we appreciate you. We will see you again on Friday. Have a great day.
Clutch the viewers. We love you, viewers. Clutch viewers.
Bye.